Hey Ride or Dies, I have something really cool to tell y'all about today. If you want to start your own podcast like me and Tyrod, all you have to do is go to a website called buzzsprout.com. But before you do that, go to our Twitter page at Bondage Clyde and click on the pinned link at the top. If you do that, you can get a $20 Amazon gift card. So it's like a win-win situation. You get your own podcast started and you get $20.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and listening to Bondage and Clyde. So this is Tyrod Johnson.
And this is Kelsey Cummings.
And we love having you guys here. Today we're not going to play any games. We're going straight into it. No games played.
Not at all.
We've been discussing this topic for the last day or so. And we were like, man, we got to put this in a podcast because I think that a lot of people need to hear it. It's one of those topics that I think a lot of relationships flirt with the concept, and the concept I'm talking about is
open relationships.
So we currently have an open relationship, and it's been something we've been working on for the last year and a couple months. So
I would say it's been an experiment. It's been both of our first open relationships that we've had. And so we, navigating it, you're just trying to figure out what to do, when to do it, what's the right decision. And I think it's just all a big experiment and we're just figuring it out.
Yeah, it's one of those things, we're experimenting with the love of our life. So it's one of those things that when you start a relationship and you know this is the right person for you, and then you experiment within that love, it's really challenging. There's some definite challenges to it. There's a lot of pluses though. There's a great benefit to the sex life, great benefit to, I would say the depth of the relationship as well. So you gain a certain knowledge about your partner that you would never get in a purely monogamous relationship. So.
Definitely. And so today we were just going to kind of talk about some of the pros and cons of an open relationship after being in one for a year and a half, would you say?
Yeah. I'm going to go after Kelsey. I think she has some hot and heated topics she wants to get into on her pros and cons. We've also been taking our time here lately. We've taken a small hiatus or pause from having some partners here lately. So I think we're about to jump back into it. I think this is a good time for us to discuss it.
Right, and I'm just gonna be real. I have an attitude. So, I mean, we're doing this podcast today, and if you guys are wondering, like, oh, why does her voice sound different? It's because I have an attitude. So there's that. So
yeah, she was like 2 inches from slapping me upside the head earlier, but she held back.
I did not choose violence today. So let's get started. So in the beginning, I think we mentioned on earlier episodes that we started out in a monogamous relationship. And a few months into that relationship is when we decided to be open. And, so from there, there's been a lot of good times, a lot of fun times, a lot of, that's basically what motivated us to start this podcast in the first place. So one of the biggest things about an open relationship for me was freedom. And that means so much because in previous relationships, I know I felt a little bit locked down, a little bit like there were a lot of rules and constraints and about things that you couldn't do and should never do, which, is fine for a while, but to live your entire life and have so many rules and constraints about what you can and can't do, that doesn't sound fun to me.
Right. It just seemed like some of your relationships, and she's told me a lot about them. It was really a lot of lack of trust and maybe some, I don't know, confidence or self-conscious issues with some of the partners she was with. But I think,
Yeah, I mean, mainly it was lack of trust, and it was really based on nothing. I was a really good girl in my previous relationships. Like I stayed faithful 100%.
wow.
But I never was treated like that. I was always treated as if I was cheating or as if I was stepping out and lying and all this, but I wasn't.
Right.
So that was frustrating.
Yeah. So whenever you're dealing with somebody who has maybe some prior abuse or prior issues, and or they're projecting their own infidelity on you, you're gonna run into some issues where they want to put boundaries on you and really tie you down. So I think dealing with that, especially dealing with very long-term relationships that were pretty rough, I think you dealt with it well, Kelsey. And
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thankful for those relationships because they led me right here to you. So
right, and I think when you came into this relationship, you definitely didn't bring that along, because I think you could have had either a rebellion to that, just like we're not gonna have any rules or anything, or you could have been like, you know what, I'm gonna do that to somebody else. So I didn't get any of that energy from you. So I think you really deserve the freedom after what you experienced, but then also you took on to it very well.
I appreciate that, Tyrod. And yeah, I mean, and that's part of the reason why I love you so much. But in this relationship, when I wake up and when I go to bed, I know there's things that I just don't have to worry about. And that's, the social media thing of, worrying about who Tyrod is liking, who he's talking to for the most part on social media. And, that's refreshing. That's one of the things that a lot of couples argue about, these days. It's just like, likes on Instagram and stuff. So the fact that I don't have to worry about that at all is a huge pro for me about our open relationship.
Yeah. And I would say one other thing about the freedom for you is you honestly can go and talk to whoever. I think you've met people who are really friendly and just who actually I think you still communicate with, and that freedom allowed for contacts that may not have been there, and
right. I don't worry about accepting someone's number or
right.
just talking to somebody randomly. Like I don't worry about it because I'm usually excited to tell you about it.
Right.
That's usually what the reaction is. I don't want to hide it.
Right.
So I don't have to hide it.
Right.
I think that just is the freedom of it. So another thing I would say I've learned in this year and a half is that I like attention. That might get a lot of people in trouble. It might bring up the whole Aisha Curry thing.
I was just about to bring it up. I didn't know I was marrying Aisha Curry.
Apparently you were.
Wow.
You had no idea. Wow. But, I remember she got all this backlash for apparently, what did she say exactly?
I think she was a little upset that she didn't get some of the attention or the, I guess, the compliments. She wasn't getting the compliments and the approaches that maybe Steph was getting from women.
Right.
She wasn't getting that kind of attention from men.
And I guess people were like, but you're married though.
Right. So why are you out chasing attention?
Right. Why are you looking at that? But in actuality, I think most women would agree that they like attention. Point blank, period. And when you get that attention, it validates you. It kind of, you might sometimes wonder like, oh, do I still got it? I've been married for 10 years. I don't know if I still got it. And most women will never know if they still got it because they don't have that opportunity to test it or to test the water, sort of.
Right.
And to me, that's like the best part about it is, I when I'm feeling down or whatnot, I always can get that extra little validation knowing that I still am pretty and I still am smart and people like things about me. And so.
Right. And I think some of it also is, hey, you get the attention from me that, hey, I'd say you're really pretty, you're beautiful, I love you inside and out. But it's like that child and parent complex of like, yeah, you're going to say that to me. Which is, I mean, we both are really attractive people. I say that.
You'll see how he's flexing a little bit.
No, I'm just playing. But for real, we both are extremely attracted to each other. And
he is very attractive. He was right the first time.
All right. Say what you want. But no, I think that Kelsey is extremely attractive, but it is that it's different when it comes from someone else because you're gonna hear that from me. I'm gonna compliment you. You know that I like you. There's not a question, but
that's the thing. Like I know you're gonna compliment me because we're together.
Right.
It's kind of like an obligation for you to make sure that I feel good. But someone who has nothing to bring, who has nothing to lose,
right,
who then tells me that, then I know they're telling the truth.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Right. And I mean, of course, early on, it was the same feeling. You got the same feeling for me, but as it went on, you're like, okay, well, we're committed to each other at this point, and there's not that reason for me. Like, of course, I'm being honest, but there's that certain, I guess.
You love me.
Yeah, I love you.
It's like how a mother, they're not gonna say their kid is ugly.
Right. Yeah.
But they might be.
Right.
But then the mom is never gonna see it that way, and so that's. It's not the exact same, but it's sort of because we.
Yeah, we didn't start. We have the knowledge that we didn't start dating each other thinking that the other person was ugly. Yeah, we still have that knowledge, but at the same time, we've been together for a while, and that one person thinks I'm pretty. It's just, it's nice because we love each other, but at the same time, it doesn't hold the same weight as this random person.
Just a rando
who can just say this and be like, oh well, you went out of your way to say that, okay.
Right. So it's just the validation that like, oh, I still got it. I like to feel that every now and then.
Yeah. Popular opinion says you're a baddie.
Anyways, let's move on. And then so I'm having these different experiences and. Different guys approach me and talk to me and stuff like that, and I always bring it back to Tyrod. Like nothing is really a secret in our relationship, and so I think that kind of makes it. That kind of gives us an extra something to talk about, like even during sex, to make it hotter.
Yeah, I think so. For us, I'd say we're pretty vocal. I wouldn't say we constantly talk during sex, but. During sex, we always try and talk about something a little different every time, and bring in
not like whole dissertations.
Not whole dissertations, but we think about like, hey, I might say something like, "Oh, you liked his dick this way. You liked when he came on your stomach, and I'm gonna do it just like that," or you like the way my dick feels,
all that stuff.
You like the way his felt, this kind of thing while we're talking, so she can either visualize that experience with him again while we're having sex, or whatever it was. If I knew it was like super pleasurable experience for her, I might bring it up during sex so she can think about that. Whatever makes it a little bit hotter and nastier, because she's with me and she gets to think about someone else. That's like a taboo thing, and I know about it. That's crazy.
Most guys would not say what you're saying right now.
Right. We might, I might say who's better. I might, we just talk about all of that stuff. It's all on the table. So there's no limit to how nasty we can be and how hot it can be.
And that's one thing both of us enjoy is the sort of taboo topics. And I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you're having sex and you're talking about all these taboo topics, it makes the sex hotter. Mm-hmm. You just get everything out and talk about all your fantasies and everything that turns you on, and I think it helps It helps keep the fire.
It's like revving the car with no limiter. You know, it's just there's nothing stopping you from just being as enjoying it to the fullest.
All the non-car people are thinking like, what? Yeah. What was that? I can tell you that right now because I was like, huh? I actually think I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
For the first time, but most of the time I don't get your car references.
Right, yeah. Well, for the people who might not have got it, all right, so put it this way. You can go as fast as you want. There's a lot of cars that have like a governor on them that say, hey.
It's a limit to how fast the car can go.
It won't let the engine go any faster than this or rev any higher than this, but some engines, like race engines, you don't have a limiter. It's just all a matter of you knowing when the engine's gonna blow up.
I think I need a limiter.
Yeah,
because the engine will blow up if I'm playing around with it.
All right, so we went down that rabbit hole. No, but for real, I think it definitely makes it a little hotter, and it just adds a dimension that is not normally there when it's just the two of you trying to figure out what's the new hottest thing, especially after, we have sex often. After having sex, 5, 6, 7 times a week, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna talk about?
You run out of stuff.
You're gonna have sex in that same position. You're gonna have sex with that same toy. You're gonna use your vibrator. What are you gonna do? So
and that's something to think about when you're getting married or you're committing to someone forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you always do the same stuff and do the same positions and stuff like that, I don't see how that could last.
It lasts. People do it.
But do they? Or do we just not know what's going on?
No, I think there are people who have monogamous relationships that have sex throughout the relationship and they enjoy it in a way. But I'm not sure if...
Because I think some of those older couples, some of the couples who've been together for
50 years.
Yeah, well, not those people, but maybe like the 20-year people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have sex that often.
I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I definitely would say that there are some that have made it
and the whole time they've been doing missionary.
They not missionary, but they found ways to make it hot. So
I'm saying this might be the key to longevity to longer relationships is,
or at least the level of trust that it requires. You have to be to this point in any relationship where you're not over your partner's shoulder. That's just insecure in some ways, So I think this kind of takes some of that or addresses some of that insecurities.
Mm.
But it definitely makes our sex hotter. So to harp on that point one more time.
No, it does, and I think that's something we both wholeheartedly agree on.
Right.
Whenever we do that, it's always great.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing to realize, even though we're in this great open relationship, there are times where, we're human and feelings and emotions get the best of us.
Right.
And, I try not to because I'm a thug, but,
So here come the cons, people. I think she's walking, she's segueing into it.
I'm trying to segue into it and you playing over there.
Go ahead.
Oh, man. All right. So because I am a human,
mm-hmm.
Some certain feelings are hard to avoid sometimes. And, sometimes when you're, wanting other women and interested in other women, it makes me feel a type of way.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie.
What about the men though? That make you feel a type of way too? I think at one point.
I think so, both. At one point, it was like both. It was almost like I'm getting it from both sides. Like I gotta worry about the guys and the girls with you. Like not just the girls.
Here she go.
It's extra.
Here she go.
It's like, okay, he might not have looked at this girl walking past us, but he might have looked at a guy. Well, no, not really, because he's not really into guys like that.
I'm like, what?
I'm just saying, like, I gotta worry about it from both sides. Is that not?
Not really. Not in the same way. Like I would.
I'm not saying you're catching a guy on the street, but I'm saying What am I saying, Tyrod?
So essentially, I guess I'll go back into the whole sexuality conversation a little bit, real quick.
I'm not saying you're
real quick.
Okay.
So I am solely attracted to women. I am open to dealing with and having relations like only sexual stuff with men. But I don't. There's never a period on the street where I look at a guy and like, damn, he's attractive. That doesn't happen.
Okay, I said that and I was wrong, but I was trying to make a point that
right.
You know, initially in the beginning,
right,
it was a concern.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to not be that way,
right.
But that was a concern in the beginning.
Right.
So, you know, when he is telling me about these girls and these women that he is attracted to, or that have been flirty with him, or that he's been talking to, or just anything like that, sometimes I start to question my own looks and or my own performance, because it just, you know, I know how much guys are visual creatures, and I always have to remind myself, like, okay, you know, am I looking pretty enough today, or am I doing enough to keep his attention? And you know, it doesn't feel great when you are questioning whether you're attractive to your partner.
Right.
And you know, that I have to catch myself sometimes, because sometimes that thought will, you know, creep into my head and then, like, you know, make me have like a bad day. And
you know, if your wife ain't happy, you ain't happy.
Here he goes. But yeah, like it's not the best feeling, but I think overall that has been a small percentage of the time. And you know,
do you think if I had more partners, it would be worse?
That's a good question, and I would think that it might not be worse. I think it might be better, because I might get more used to it.
Right.
Like, I think because you don't have as many partners as I do, every time it happens, it's like a surprise. Or it's like something like, I gotta get used to that, or I have to like figure out how to feel and what to do with my emotions. But I feel like if it was happening more often, then I would become more numb to it.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think at this point too, I guess, is you're still working on finding the on your side, you're not as turned on by it as I am.
That's never been a turn on for me. Like,
yeah.
You know, in the beginning, you explained to me how, you know, it was a turn on for you to have a hot wife.
Right.
But you know, that has never ever been like a fantasy of mine.
Right.
To see my partner with other people.
Right.
So it's just like something that you just have to learn to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like I'm okay with it, but usually I'm okay with it not knowing a lot.
Right.
Like, okay, you're doing your thing over there. I'm good. Just leave me alone. Like, go do your thing and like leave me alone. That's kind of how I feel most times. Mm-hmm. And you know, and then like sometimes when you start telling me, you know, the details of what you're doing, that just gets my mind racing. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a back and forth thing, because I also don't like feeling like I'm in the dark about things.
Right.
But at the same time, when I am in the dark, I'm probably happier.
Right. Yeah, it's two conflicting things there.
I'm gonna admit it is definitely conflicting.
All right, so how do I navigate two things that are conflicting? Huh?
I mean, you just have to go based, like, if I'm asking for the information, just give it to me. Right. But if I'm not asking for the information, don't give it to me.
All right.
That's pretty easy.
But then when I don't give it to you, don't say, why didn't you give it to me?
Well, I said if I'm not asking.
I know.
Yeah, so I'm not asking.
Right.
So don't do it if I'm not asking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying in the future, say you be like, well, where'd that come from? And I'm like, well, I didn't tell you because I wasn't supposed to tell you. And then you be like, but yeah, you left me.
Listen, you gonna deal with my emotions.
She gonna be all over the place. But anyway,
I'm trying to explain it.
I got you.
I recognize that it's a contradicting thing.
I appreciate that,
But,
and that's amazing too. Is one thing about this, and I'm gonna just sit this right here in the middle. I'm gonna just sit this right here in the middle. So you really have to know yourself in this relationship, and you will learn a lot about yourself in this relationship as far as how possessive you are, how controlling or anything you are in the relationship. You will get a feel for that, and like how much your partner's happiness weighs in on your happiness. All those things will come to surface in this type of relationship. So it's actually a real good way to learn yourself if you haven't before you got in a relationship.
Definitely. And I've learned that, I'm not, like, I don't beat you over the head about things.
Mm-hmm.
What I am is, I am a little possessive.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to put that on you, but that is how I feel sometimes.
Right.
Like, I feel like nobody is like good enough for you but me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like sometimes when you're dealing with other people, I'm like, why are you dealing with these raggedy people when I'm right here?
Yeah.
So I feel like that sometimes, and that's something I've learned and I'm working on, and I've been trying to communicate it with Tyrod and just letting him know where I stand and where I'm at. And usually after a day or two or whatever, I feel better about the situation, and then we move on and we're happy being open again.
Right.
But these type of feelings and emotions do happen, and I think just the way to solve them is just to talk about it.
Right. And I should also paint the picture a little bit. So I think listening to this, it may be like, well, if she don't really like it that much, why y'all doing it? And I think it may come off like that. And like, well, it seems like he's pushing her into it, or that may be the way that this sounds, but honestly, it's not. This happens, or we communicate, and I ask her all the time and make sure that she is okay with it, and we still have full control of stopping, and we take breaks here and there, and we just do our thing. So it's always in that full control state between the two of us. We're at the center of this thing, and it's never gone astray from that. I think that
No, I mean, he's definitely been very, understanding, and we talk everything through. And before we make any major decisions about anything, we come to an agreement first.
Right.
He's not pushing me into this. Actually, I'm the one who's pushing it more, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But I'm just expressing to you guys the feelings and emotions that happen sometimes in situations like this. For the majority of the time, 9 times out of 10, I'm all for it. I'm all about, having sexual experiences that I've never had before, things like that. I think that this has been a more positive relationship than any of the relationships I've ever been in. And all of my previous relationships were monogamous. And I just feel like me and Tyrod communicate more. He listens more, I listen, and we learn each other more. And you're able to be 100% yourself in situations like this. And I've never been able to be 100% myself. So I think this relationship is by far better than anyone I've ever had. Oh. I mean it.
This is my second best. I was just playing on
it. See how you do me?
Nah.
Logging off.
Hey, go ahead and turn in your badge. It's over.
I'm gonna need you to log off for me. Y'all seen that meme?
Oh yeah, that what is that, Simpsons?
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna need you to go ahead and log off.
It's the hand on the shoulder for me.
That is so funny still.
Yeah, that's funny. So you got some more cons I think you wanted to go over. So that was a big one. The whole possessive, being in the dark and not really, that kind of thing is major. You got to deal with that emotion, and especially if one person is not turned on necessarily by it, but by their partner being open versus the other person who's turned on by their partner being open. So that's a whole. I guess that's something that you have to navigate. That's a situation that has to be talked about, and it's got to be up front. Everything has to be up front. You literally cannot leave out details of how you feel about the situation whatsoever.
Right.
So whatever you get out of it, that your other person needs to know what you're getting out of it. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead. I just wanted to wrap that up into a tight little little present
Christmas
for
gift.
that first little con of yours right there.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to discuss about sort of like a negative thing that comes with open relationships is after I've been with a partner, a lot of times I'll come home and the next time Tyrod and I have sex, he analyzes everything. He is thinking and taking notes and all this during sex. And I just feel like that is not, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
it's not natural.
It's not. Like, I just feel like you thinking about all these other things and these other factors when we're having sex takes away from our moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, so-and-so did it like this and they tried this position, so let me try this position too, and let me, like, all that extra. I just want to have sex with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told you this in the past, that I like to just feel. I don't really like to think.
Right.
And you are a little bit of the opposite. You like to think.
A little bit of the opposite or a lot of bit of the opposite?
Okay, well, let me just say you're the opposite. And I don't necessarily like that. Right. I don't like our sex to be compared to other people, because there's two different people, there's two different experiences, two different connections. Everything is different to me. So I don't think that we should be trying to find commonalities. It just is what it is. Like, it's a different person.
I got you.
That's now, for me. That's right. My thing.
For me, let me tell y'all something. I want to see what I like to compare and understand what was the value and the greatness or the lack of, what's lack of greatness? Whatever that word is.
Yeah, whatever the opposite of greatness is.
The destitute of greatness. I don't know.
He said the destitute.
I'm just gonna pull words out of my ass now, but not for real. So I want to see what really was something that she got out of it. So I do a lot of comparing and understanding. Hey, so let me see. So did you get wet when he did this? Did you? Oh, okay. Well, hey, I haven't made you squirt yet, and he made you squirt. That's just something that I'm gonna compare it to. Like, I haven't done that. He did that. Or if he made you come really hard by doing something that we don't normally do. Oh, okay. Well, I might want to try that, or at least understand what you got out of it. And then there's just little things like that I want to know about it to know what you enjoy, because there's always going to be things I haven't tapped into because I'm just coming from my perspective, from my direction.
I see that. I mean, I understand wanting to add different things to our sex life that weren't there, that maybe, will be, just like things that we haven't tried that we could try and it'll be great.
Right.
I do get that. I guess I just don't want to feel like you're trying to measure up or something to someone else that isn't even worth the time of day. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, nobody compares to you. So it's like when you're comparing yourself to these people that are less than, I just feel like it's not, like, it's a waste of your time.
Right. But what about when they're greater than?
they might be greater in one particular thing, but you're greater overall.
Right. I mean, you love me.
I do love you, but I want you to recognize that.
I do.
Okay. As long as you do, then we're on the same page. As long as you recognize that, we're on the same page.
No, but for real, what usually goes on, I would say maybe the first time we have sex after she's been with someone else is, of course, we like to get off on what the experience was like, and we add that little bit to our sex. But what can happen, and it doesn't happen often, honestly. It's only happened a couple times.
What are you talking about?
As far as when I get like super analytical, and maybe if say something goes wrong, like say something, anything goes wrong, any minor thing goes wrong, I'm like, I don't know if that works for us. And the fact that I'm thinking about something, or that it doesn't turn out well, can put a damper on the whole sexual mood.
Well, yeah, if you're like, if you're being a college professor while we're having sex, pulling out your notebook.
What? But the thing too, I should note that I am always a thinker during sex. I'm always trying to figure out what is the next little button I can push.
Nothing wrong with thinking, but for me, feeling is so much more important.
Right. Yeah. I'm always gonna be the one thinking about how can I make her have the best experience. That's like that's at the forefront of my thoughts. Yeah, that's always. I'm a person who's gonna pleasure her until the day I die. That's just the way I'm gonna think about it.
Is he saying vows? What's happening? He's writing vows on air right now?
I'm not. It's just, but that's just how I am. I want to make sure that she gets hers before I get mine. That's just, and I think it's a lot.
Got me a good one, ladies.
I think it's easier for a guy to achieve that than it is for the woman.
To achieve what?
To achieve that, it's easier for us to go and come, or get what we want to get out of sex, where I think it's easy for a woman to probably be disappointed in the sex from a guy. Like, how many times have you been with a guy and you've been like,
a bit.
That's
quite a bit.
That doesn't happen very often for men.
Well, that's because y'all come every time.
But that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's easier for guys to get what we want out of sex. So I try and reverse that. My objective is to reverse that. Mm-hmm. And you always to have a good time. And I'll join later.
You'll join.
I'll join later. So,
I got two other things I want to mention. I'm gonna mention real quick. One side effect from being in an open relationship is the potential, the partners that you have, they become clingy and they forget what you discussed when you first got together with them. Me, I'm always 100% honest with the guy before we do anything. Mm-hmm. I let him know that I am in a relationship. Tyrod comes first.
Right.
And we're open. So I'm able to talk to you. That's why I'm able to talk to you. We're open. But I am in a relationship.
Right.
And I say that before I move forward with anybody. Mm-hmm. And most of the guys don't care.
Right.
But a lot of times they end up, after we're together, being very clingy and questioning like their role or their position with me. And I'm always just like, you have no position. You have no role.
Right.
I used you for sex.
Yeah, it's just a sexual relationship.
And that was it.
In which I should also say that I don't put the brakes on her when if it's a guy she just wants to talk to a little bit. Like, she can have friends, she can have a little bit more than a sexual relationship with these people. That's not the case, but they get the faint idea that they are going to supplant me as the number one person in her life, and I think that's the problem.
And then they're disappointed.
Yeah, they're disappointed by that. Or they think that she's going to drop everything in that moment and leave and do stuff with them. Like, that she is on their beck and call, which is not the case either.
Exactly, and that's just one thing that is annoying to me.
Right.
Because I am so upfront with them in the beginning.
Right.
I'm just not understanding why they don't get it.
I want you guys to notice that she's upfront with him.
We're gonna get to that later.
Right.
But yeah, I am always upfront.
Gotcha.
And then, so I have all these experiences, and typically I talk about all of it with Tyrod. But sometimes you just need that sort of feminine, womanly perspective on it. And I feel like with the type of relationship that we have, I can't really talk to any of my girlfriends or like family members or anything. Because I just feel like we're at a point, it's kind of we're too far gone. Like, we've been together so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like if I go to one of my girlfriends about our issues, she'd be like, okay, wait, back up. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, most people who are not used to this, they're just like, well, stop being open. If there's an issue ever, hey, don't do that. So that's
I know they don't understand though.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the reason why you don't ever really talk to people outside your relationship, because they don't understand the day-to-day of it. They don't understand the couple. That's why even in most relationships, the best idea is just to talk to your partner and understand them better, understand their wants and needs better.
No, but sometimes it might be something about you where I feel like we can't really, like if I have an issue with something, sometimes we might butt heads about it.
Right.
And so just to avoid butting heads with you, sometimes you just want to be like, girl, this what happened. Tell what you think I should do. I mean, I'm not saying I've done that, but I'm just saying sometimes you just want a feminine perspective on things. Like, if you were in this situation, what would you do? But I can't.
Right.
I know that's not something that you've done.
That's not something I do or have done, and I almost wouldn't recommend it, but if that's...
Again, I don't do it because
right.
I'm saying that's one of the things I can't do.
Right.
And I think most women would understand.
What's that John B. song? They don't know.
Listen to what people say.
Yeah.
They don't know about you and me.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't. But the thing is, you just need to just vent sometimes. Who am I supposed to vent to?
Me.
Every time? What if it's about
vent
you?
To the people.
The people? We venting right now?
Yeah, we venting.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, sometimes I have that urge to vent. I can't vent. That's why that's one of my cons. Because we've been together how long? And I have not vented to anyone.
Yeah.
For a woman saying
that's big, and I think that's in some ways it's a good thing. And I think a lot of people have relationship therapists and things like that they bring those things to the table, which is a professional who can help.
But that's somebody who you're venting to.
That's somebody who you're venting to, though. But they're giving a unbiased opinion. Also, they don't know us.
Okay, but
so that's different.
But basically, nobody knows us because they don't know what our relationship is like.
But they know you. They're gonna say, "Drop him, do this, do that," because they gonna have you in their best interest, or they're gonna have your best interest in their mind. So that's different than them being like, Kelsey, you should have not done this, and yeah, he was gonna react like that. So it might throw some little bit more weight back on you or something like that. You never know in some cases. So that's why it's like having neutral people is probably more helpful than just like, listen what my husband did.
I mean, you just want to do that. That's like the beauty shop effect. The barber shop effect. Same thing. Yeah. But again, like I said, I've never done that this entire time.
Right.
And that's just one of the things that I'm like, sometimes I just want to vent, but, I guess I've survived.
Survived? Thrived. She's thrived, guys. She's thriving.
I've thrived without it. So, I think that concludes my pros and cons.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I didn't know the cons list was gonna be. I'm just playing. They're about the same length.
No, you've got a little more.
No, I'm saying your cons and pros are about the same length.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so tie rod time.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, come on, folks, down to tie rod corner. We're going to talk about Team tie rod. We're going to talk about what is best about being open from my perspective. So I'll start with, I was a person who introduced this type of relationship to us. I kind of brought this up and was like, hey, why don't you try other people? And that was mostly driven by me and my personality, I would say, is I always want to see my partner get the utmost pleasure. So I would always thrive or drive to, what can I do to help Kelsey either have a better time, have more orgasms, have just more experiences. I knew early on that, hey, she's a flirt. She's also really dirty, nasty. We had already at this point talked about a lot of our kinks and fantasies. But of course, before we opened, we didn't talk about, hey, I like it. And I think you discovered that you liked attention from other guys, but
yeah, I discovered that. I mean, I think I always have liked attention from guys, but I've discovered it within a relationship for the first time, I should say.
Right, and I think, and then also I think it's for me, I always wanted to see. I think similar to what we were talking about, the whole compliments thing. This is another way that you get to see what your partner truly would like in their wildest sexual fantasy, or they're a little bit, when they have more freedom, what do they try and go for? And you get to see that, and it's untainted. It's not held back. So when she is able to just go and find the guys that she maybe fantasizes about, or the things that she would see in porn and things like that may really turn her on. So she got to address like her daddy fantasy and the kink she has there. You want to say anything? You leaning to the mic like you had something to say right there.
I was just gonna agree with you.
Right.
I have I never told anybody about that fantasy before, but I've gotten a chance to kind of dibble and dabble.
Yeah.
Dibble and dabble into it.
Yeah, so she got to be with some older men that normally, when you're dating, you won't go for people who aren't the best possible match. And that's the thing too, is like, you get to be with people with the notion that they're only going to be short term, versus when you're dating, you still have that like, I'm trying to find somebody who could last for a while. So even if you're never wholeheartedly in it for the sex, you're never wholeheartedly in it for a full relationship. So at this point, now she could just be wholeheartedly finding the guys that she wants to have sex with.
I think you just said something there. You said a word there.
Yeah.
That was profound.
Yeah. Okay.
I never thought of it that way.
Yes. That's what that is. So that's what I like to see. That's the biggest pro, is I get to see when she's wholeheartedly just and focused on, I am just going to find the person who turns me on. What does she go for? And then finding that turns me on. So the older men, she gets to, chase after guys that, I ain't gonna say chase, but she gets to select and find guys that have bigger dicks, who have that 9, 10 inch, 11 inch and bigger, or whatever she wants. She gets to have orgasms, but like they're gonna be thinking about different things or different people, so they're gonna give her orgasms in different ways. Obviously, they're gonna have that domination effect, because she goes for guys that are bigger, a little bit more machismo about him. So that's the kind of thing that she looks at. And then there's other things she gets to experience that would not have happened necessarily with us because, she gets to have, cream pies with some of these older guys that have been snipped and things like that, obviously we're both, we're eventually going to start a family, and that's just not in it for us right now. We can't do that. And then, there's things I enjoy her doing and seeing, like she gets to have facials with these guys. They get to completely enjoy her, and she gets to completely enjoy them for just the sexual aspect of it. And that's just not something you get to see in that way in a monogamous relationship. You don't get to be outside of yourself and see it from the outside and see her have what would be next to picture perfect situations of her having sex. So that's my number one pro. And then the next thing is I had a hot wife, stag, vixen, cuckold fantasy of like her being able to go outside of the relationship and have that relationship that she shouldn't, that taboo relationship that what do you call it, the relationship that shouldn't be, the what you can't have type of deal.
Were you able to fulfill this fantasy before me?
No.
This is the first time.
This is the very first time. Mm-hmm. So having someone that, and then her wanting that is a whole different thing. Like her actively going and seeking it out. I was like, man, she really wants sex. Like she really has that sex drive. She wants it. She needs it. She's my nasty slut. To get into it like that and know that your woman is really, a sexual beast. When you know that, it's just like,
He's about to get his clothes ripped off here.
Put it in my veins. I need it. Nah, but for real, you get to see that part of your significant other, and it's a real turn on for me. So there's, I guess it's the bad girl, it's just the taboo-ness of it. So I enjoy the whole hot wife scene and part of the whole open relationship. And then I would say the next thing is, this actually, comes off of one of her points is talking about the new experiences that she has. So actually the actual conversation between us is nice because I get to hear about things that she doesn't normally.
You mean to say in general or during sex?
In general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like when we have our little text conversations about like what do you like, what do you want, is literally the porn is our life. So I send her stuff and be like, hey, did y'all do this? And you'd be like, yup, just like that.
All right, country. Just like that.
Just like that. So that's really cool to have those situations that you can paint that otherwise you'd be, we did that before. We did that. It's you don't, there's that extra dynamic, that extra dimension you get from being able to have the conversations about what she actually did with someone else. It looks just like the stuff you find online. The next point is talking about, and I'm just gonna brush real quick on this one, is being able to, another pro is being able to talk about things that you wouldn't normally talk about in a monogamous relationship. So
like what?
As opposed to the last point, which was I enjoy talking about things that happen outside of the relationship. This one is being able to have that conversation as far as like getting attention from different guys. Like if your girl was like, you know what, I really like attention from other guys, you might be like, well, you should go get them. You should have them. What you here for? So that's different in this relationship because I understand that she just likes the attention. It is nothing more, nothing less than that. You know, it's like just it's a small turn on for her, and it, you know, it just makes her feel hot. You know, so
It does.
I get that. I get that. Let's see. She talked about the social media thing. That was one of my points. She stole it.
I did.
Stole it that.
Stole it. I stole it right off of his paper.
Taketh.
I take it. What is it? The Lord giveth and taketh away.
And then the next one is, it's cool to have that. Well, look, she said the opposite. She said it was a con earlier, but for me, it's actually a pro.
What are we talking about?
Having something like a secret between us. Like it's like this thing that it's cool with your partner to have that. What do they call that when you have that?
No, I agree that
between joke, or what do they call that?
Inside joke.
Inside joke. Yeah.
No. I do agree that is hot.
Mm-hmm.
99.9% of the time.
No.
That 0.01% is the time I was just saying, dang, I just want to tell my girl real quick, but maybe that's not good. Maybe that is something that was negative from other relationships that I should have left behind anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a blessing in disguise.
Right.
Who knows? But when I was writing my list,
that came out.
That came up. But now that I'm thinking about it, it might be better. We might be better off.
Which you know what though? What might be fun is we don't really have necessarily friends that are in this situation.
Well, that's my point. I'm saying because none of my friends are in this situation and none of them would understand this.
Right.
Me saying the first thing, like, oh, we're open, they're like, oh, shoot. Like,
well, you know, when we're going down this path and now we're starting to be more active and, you know, we put on this podcast, it's like we should be a part of a community. We feel like...
I want to be.
Yeah, so maybe that's the thing, too, is like we don't really have a community that we talk to and we can work through things with, like who've been through.
But baby, that's what I was saying a minute ago. You were like, you don't need to be talking to nobody, no way.
No, I'm talking about like, hey, how do you meet people? How do you navigate this? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily like, oh, my man did something wrong. I want you to hear about it. That different. That different than like just having someone else to talk about this. But yeah. I guess you have the guys you talk to. You can talk about the relationship a little bit.
I mean, I guess they don't know like any of. They don't have any perspective.
Yeah. Like
they might know what I tell them.
Right.
But that's not like the whole story.
Of course.
But I don't really talk to any of them really about it unless they maybe have like a specific question or, you know, it doesn't come up that often.
Right.
But you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be cool to like find somebody in this sort of same lifestyle.
Right.
And you know that might be something we should look into.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, do a couples thing or something. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and then the next point, I had a lot of points.
Pull out this whole scroll.
Yeah, let me work through this real quick. Is seeing what. So when I do go and talk to other women, it's seeing what turns them on, what makes them hot. So like throwing things out there that maybe I don't. We're past that. I'm past that point with Kelsey. So like I might throw out something. I guess you would say it's like that. Those early stages of talking to someone and getting them to that point where they're turned on and seeing what turns them on and figuring out like, oh well, like Kelsey, she likes big dicks, you know, or she likes this, that, other, or oh, this is a sticking point for her or something. You know, you just get to know people and what turns them on and what's what is that? Where's the start button for them? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of cool. That's a major one I like when meeting new women.
When you do meet new women, do you find that they are they are on the same page as you as far as like nastiness, or do you feel like
Oh, never. That's
he answered very quickly.
that never is the case. It's rare. The women who one would be open about it is a little bit more rare.
I think that it just takes time in general though for like women to open up.
Right, and I know they exist. They're out there. I know you're listening too.
We see the downloads. we see the downloads, especially in Huff, Ohio. Shout out to Huff, Ohio.
Who are you? You gotta email us, man.
Y'all
or woman,
be downloading.
Whoever that is in Huff, Ohio, I see you.
We see you. I think it's Huff.
Yeah, it's pronounced Huff, I think.
Watch it be Ho. It could be Ohio.
Oh, goodness.
Let us know. Email us. Tell us how it's pronounced. Bondage and Clyde 1@gmail.com.
Bondage and Clyde 1@gmail.com.
All right, back to
back to what we're talking about. So normally they're just into the straightforward orthodox sex, typically, and
in the beginning, so you don't get that far with them. Like you ain't 6 months down the road still talking to this.
Well, let me say this: prior to you, I talked to several. On my many journeys, I've talked to different women, and there's not a lot that get real adventurous. Now, mind you, these were younger women for the most part. So, as you get older, you got to be a little bit more adventurous to keep it hot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit of a difference. But for the most part, everyone. 9 out of 10 women and men are probably having some semblance of orthodox sex. They're not, until they get a little older, they're not playing in buttholes. They're not, doing all the nasties just yet.
I wasn't doing all the nasties really like in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So I mean, it took time.
Yeah, it took time.
But the thing is, I feel like when you first met me, you didn't know I liked all this crap.
No, I knew early.
What you mean?
I knew quickly.
Okay, rewind.
So when you first sent me the first picture of your undercarriage, when I first saw the first
did he say undercarriage?
first nudie pic of her undercarriage, I saw that your butt had been touched before. I was like, hey,
what does that even mean? I don't even know what he's talking about, guys.
So I could tell that she had anal before by seeing a picture of her asshole. So
how does that even? Okay, explain. I'm lost. Help us.
A virgin asshole looks a little different than a used.
Listen.
Bro, it ain't like tires though.
Listen,
Ain't no expiration.
I've had anal sex.
Right.
But I have not had anal sex like that. That's been a rare thing.
Okay.
So for you to say, I just knew. Like, what does that mean?
You can just look at an asshole and be like, yep, somebody been in there before. Yep.
Well, I don't even know what picture you're talking about. Like, we gotta address this later. I don't know what picture he's talking about. He's talking about my undercarriage. He's talking about I didn't do this thing before.
Had you? Yes. All right. So moving on.
Oh gosh, it was like a couple times.
All right. And then my last pro is I enjoy the competitive side of it. So yeah, we talked about. I get in my head a little bit about like what can I add to our sex and the sex after her occurrence with someone else. I usually am trying different stuff. I'm trying to take it up a notch because I know her last sex was up a notch. So I'm doing a little extra. I'm being a little extra, trying different things, going a little longer, whatever it is. So it does. In my mind, a lot of times, after that first occurrence, it becomes a little bit more fluid and natural, but it makes me take it up a notch. Like I want to be enjoyable for her in between her being with her, whoever she's with. So I always want her to be like, well, goddamn, you put it down. So
and he does put it down, ladies.
Right. I wouldn't want her to not enjoy any sexual experience, and especially the one I'm in control of. So when she comes home after a bad experience from another guy, I gotta put it down because I'm like, you ain't finna have a bad night. So that's just how I look at it. It just drives me, and I consider that a pro. Sometimes, as a former athlete, you gotta be. You just retain that competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I hate to end the episode on a bad note, but we're gonna talk.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, here she go. We should have just clipped that in instead of you.
Instead of me just
instead of your ass
trying to sing it. Oh.
Yeah, we can do that in the edit. No, we're leaving it just like that.
All right.
You good. All right. So Tyrod. Cons. The first one is the safety of my lady is not certain when she's out there with other guys, So obviously you take that chance that they've been properly vetted and Kelsey's doing what she's supposed to do as far as being precautious and that kind of deal. So. That's the first point. Second point, what?
Oh, I was gonna say. So, have you gotten better about that, or do you think it's just the same feeling every time?
I've gotten better about it. The first time was like palpitations in my heart. Like I was like But I've gotten better and better about that. Just trusting, especially. I've always been a proponent for her having a guy who's consistent, and so we can build a level of trust. So I think that that's helped out too. Recently, she's kind of been with one guy a little bit. So the one thing too is this just goes back to that same point of that first time after. Her being with someone, there can be also some pressure from Kelsey of or I should say awkwardness. Let me not say pressure. There can be some awkwardness in the reconnection period when I'm collecting her from this other guy,
Collecting.
But no, for real. Sometimes and one sticks out to me specifically is say the first time she was with Roots, she was extremely vulnerable with him, and he really showed out, and she just felt a little guilty about it, and it was pretty awkward when she got back. She was didn't know. She wanted to be really nice to me and all that, and it just didn't feel very genuine. And
he didn't accept my pleasantries.
Yeah, it just was what is happening? What is going on? And it was just her feeling a little guilty for going all out with somebody. So.
How did that make you feel, Tyrod?
For me, I was just spare me. Spare me the stuff. Just give me the real. And I think that's
what. But what if that was my real? Because if I'm really feeling guilty, that is my real.
But you came in with this face of hey, it wasn't real. That wasn't real. That was a face on it. But then we found out what was real was you feeling guilty. So
what am I supposed to do with that guilt?
Just say, just tell me you're guilty. Just like we eventually got to. Just give me that up front. I didn't know it was gonna be like that, baby. So, I think that's more helpful or more insightful. I learn more from that than I do from someone just being like, "Hey, you know, I love you. I love you." That's extra. All right, so that whole reconnection period can be awkward a little bit sometimes. Now the next thing is sometimes when you're with someone else, it has to be planned out well. So if there was just say there was an expectation that something was going to happen, and you go visit this other person when the task within the relationship needing to be done, it can kind of be, it puts a burden on your partner. So you're doing something with someone else and like dropping maybe a expectation that you're going to do something else to benefit the relationship.
You're speaking in coded language. What are you saying?
So I'm saying, like, there was a time where Kelsey went to go see Roots, and essentially I thought that she was going to go home, take care of the dog, and do all that after work. Huh?
Which is our child.
Which is our child. She's holding him right now like a baby. I thought that you were gonna. So I ended up having to leave work early, and what really was a busy day, and you know I had major things going on at work. I had to leave work early to go let the dog out and take care of things at the house, and that was kind of it could be an hassle. So those are the kind of things that when you are in an open relationship and you have a central relationship that has expectations in it and things like that, those things got to be taken care of and navigated, and both partners know that this is going to happen today. So sometimes at random can be annoying, depending on if things aren't planned out well or aren't scheduled. So
I have no thoughts on that because I mean I didn't realize that you. I mean I know you had like the super busy day at work, and I just wasn't really thinking about all those factors at the time.
Right.
So my bad.
Right, and then there was that whole like, there's a lot of things around that made it just not good that time. But let's see. So this one was one I talked about in a previous episode. So when you do have a partner who's really good, so for Kelsey that was Roots. Roots was a really good partner for, or is a really good partner for, and she, you know, after the first time was like, hey Tyra, I gotta tell you something. Well, actually I asked her, and she came out and said, hey, he's the best partner I've ever had. You know, that's the best sex I've ever had, the best occurrence, best whatever, however you want to say it. And as the guy who's been doing work for the last year plus, you're like, whoa, this dude really is out here doing that, killing it like that. So then, you know, it's a little shot to the ego. Like I had always said, like in this relationship, I wanted her to find, if she's gonna be with other people, she better be with people who pleasure her really well. Like, why would you be with somebody who's lesser than or not adding something? And she found somebody who added something. So that was like...
This was a struggle for me.
Go ahead. What?
It was a struggle for me admitting that. Like Tyrod mentioned, he asked me. Mm-hmm. You were asking me questions about the experience, I think. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was tough for me to say, like, oh, I had such a great time, or, you know, he was the best I've ever had. Those words, like, it was a struggle because I understand that you have an ego, and I don't want to crush it. I don't want to be the reason for you feeling negatively. I don't want to be that reason. So that whole conversation was not fun for me.
Right.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, it was. And the reason why we got to that point is we always kind of talk about like evaluating, like, are you gonna be with this guy again? What was the experience? We always kind of evaluate each partner that we have. That way we know, all right, well, we're moving on or what's happening. So after that, she was like, yeah, she had to essentially admit that, yeah, I never felt anything like that before. So, it was just one of those things that when you find out there's another guy who does it better, you're like, wow, he's really out there. And that person's really out there.
Go ahead.
No, it's just it was cool for me. I was like, that was like a twofold. It was cool to know that there's a new limit to the pleasure that Kelsey could have. Like, all right, well, up to that point, I was always known to be her best, and then now I find out, well, there's levels to this shit, and there's a level that I need to work my way up to.
Right. But I think you took it well overall.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah.
Like I said, once I was able to admit and be honest about that, I think Tyrod appreciated it more. He appreciates honesty. I appreciate honesty. So I think once we were on the same page about where we stood and everything, we were able to, just kind of talk it through and talk about next steps and what we wanted to do in the future.
Yeah, especially after the next few occurrences and things like that with him. Like, you wonder too, like, okay, well, he's really good at this, and conversation's really good and things like that, and you just have to always keep in perspective for your partner and for yourself. Like, all right, so what am I wanting more with this person? And like, you gotta keep in perspective of like where you're gonna drive the relationship with that new person.
Mm-hmm. I think I've controlled a little bit that relationship, because I think at one point he was getting an impression that maybe the relationship was stronger than it was, or was at a different place than I thought it was, because we talked about on a previous episode about him, like, introducing me to his mom, and I think he told his brother about me when he was on the phone with his brother, and just different things like that. Like, I've been kind of controlling the situation, like, behind the scenes, by like not seeing him as much, and when we do talk, I like bring you up, so stuff like that. Like, so I've been trying to taper some of those expectations.
Right.
I don't know if it's worked, but I think it has. You never know.
Well, Kelsey is definitely a catch, so I get why he enjoys his time with her. So he definitely would. I can tell he wants to spend as much time as he can with her. And the next thing is
talk about those women.
So this kind of matches what Kelsey was talking about earlier about the clingy guys and the guys that have these weird expectations. So this is the opposite male version of this, where women are flaky. The women out here dating, or I don't even know if they're dating, they're just out here. You don't get any solid. What do you say? They don't tell you. They're not open.
They're not open about what they want.
They're not. They're not open about what they want. Like, I think there's this notion that men need to say what they want, and there's no expectation of women. Just say what you want. So I don't waste my time. And that way, as I'm trying to work my way into talking about things like they either go ghost or they're flaky, they don't want to meet. There's just a lot of nonsense in the dating world with the women. The conversation is hard to have. As far as carrying it, they don't want to talk about anything.
I will back tie right up here just because I've seen it. He showed me the evidence.
Right.
I see that a lot of women nowadays are, like you said, they're just flaky. They're just, they never know what they want, or a lot of times they're just
that, or they'll. And then there's a thing that happened recently, like women will just like flat out and be like, "Hey, can you send me some money?" Like there's a lot of that. Like,
all right, tell me about that because I don't really know all the details. So like, she said what the money was for.
She said what the money was for, but this is a person I haven't met. We don't have anything going yet. There's nothing there. We've had a couple conversations up to this point. And they were loose leaf. They were just all over. They were just.
You said loose leaf?
Yeah. They were just all over the place. So there's.
You are funny.
So there's that part of it. And that might be just because of the women today, but.
I wouldn't say that was all women because I'm women.
You are.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you are.
Out here.
We are, but there's a thing like you aren't the majority. You're only one. So it happens. There's girls out here just trying to get the money.
That's crazy though, because like I told you, I've never asked a guy for money. I don't even feel comfortable asking. I don't feel comfortable asking people I know for money.
Right.
So like a stranger, it just seems. Why would they? Why would they give anything?
Well,
to
it's
me?
easier to ask a stranger, I think, because then they won't put what do you call it, a hand over your head.
They might, because won't they want their money back too?
But they ain't got no connections to you, so you just block them or
That's cold.
Yeah.
I guess
it's that kind of deal. And yeah, so the dating world with women can be a little rough. There's some good ones out there. I know I ain't found them. I found this one, but the rest of them.
You found the one?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I ain't got nothing.
And in fact, the one that asked me for, which is funny, the one that asked me for the money, who found that one?
I actually found this one for him.
She brought this to me.
I brought him, but tell me what your first reaction was when I brought her to you.
She was alright.
Oh, he's lying.
No, for real. She was okay. She was okay.
You told her she was a baddie.
No, after when I first saw her, I was like, oh. Okay,
well, I wasn't talking about that.
But
when y'all got into the text messages,
what
you say to me?
I said she was bad.
Oh,
but when
so
you
the girl I found for him, he's saying she's a baddie.
No, but
he's enjoying talking to her, going back and forth, and then that's when I step out of the situation.
I just want to clarify. Your original question was when you first saw her, what'd you say? And that's not what I didn't say she was bad when I first saw her.
No, I said what was your first reaction?
She was all right. My first reaction. Now she was. What happened? You gave her my number, I think, something like that. I don't know what happened, but and then she sent me a video. I was like, oh, okay. Why do your pics not represent this? So, yeah, that was a whole thing. So we ran right off topic on that. And
then he was talking about flaky women because this is the same woman that is now asking for money.
Yeah. So one of the cons of being open is you get to deal with dating, which is terrible. And now the other thing is, so earlier Kelsey got to talk about like she's always open and honest with the guy she talks about.
Always.
They know exactly what's going on, what the situation is, and guys generally don't care. Like I would say,
I could say I have 3 husbands, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, like guys don't care about that. Like if they just want to have sex, they want to have sex. They ain't got to deal with none of that. That's none of their responsibility.
Nope. But I don't know why women aren't like that because You tell me that, and I'm like, well, clearly he's still in my inbox.
Right.
He's still texting me. So for me, I wouldn't care about it either.
Women's moral complex is different than men.
No, it is.
So
we're better people than you guys are, for the most part.
We're just more rational.
And I'm different, but women in general are better people.
We're just more rational. We're like, it ain't got nothing to do with me. Why I need to?
How is that rational? You with a married woman? How is that rational?
It don't hurt me. It don't hurt her.
It hurt her marriage.
she just told me that it was okay. So what's the effect? Nobody's hurt.
I'm just
exactly. Rational.
Trying to see.
We're more logical. So with this the cons on the guy side is most women, if you tell them the truth about what you're doing, 99.9% of women are gonna be like, what? No, you got somebody else. Like,
yeah, because they don't want to be that person messing up somebody's marriage. That's why I said we're better people.
But even no, but they're trying to take something. They're worried about something that's not in their control.
So you saying women should just be out here being the other woman every time?
Now look.
Hold on, I'm asking you a question.
They can?
They can't. No, I'm saying should they?
Yeah.
If a whole bunch of messed up.
If the man in his relationship is actually open and honest like we are, if he's telling you that, hey, my wife is totally down with this, and I just want to have this sexual relationship with you, intimate relationship with you, then it should be good. But
they just assume you're lying because it's easy for a guy who's cheating to say.
Exactly, it is. And it's easy for a woman to do the same.
Women don't do that though.
Women don't lie?
No, they lie, but they don't lie about that. Women don't just say, I'm in an open relationship to get a guy because they know that doesn't even take that. So they wouldn't, why would they have to say that? Because a guy want to have sex anyway. So they don't have to say this stuff about them being in an open relationship. So typically they're not lying.
So what you're saying is women don't want to have sex anyway?
No, I'm not. When I say that.
But I'm saying, I'm deducing from what you just said.
He went to college, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm deducing from what you just said. Men want to have sex anyway, so women can just say whatever to get a man. They don't have to tell the truth.
But I'm saying women can tell the truth, and it doesn't matter. The guy still wants the draws. So I'm saying it doesn't matter. So I'm saying a woman's not going to lie about her relationship status to get sex because guys don't give a damn anyway.
And women do give a damn.
Women do give a damn. Y'all are more likely to lie. Hold on. I just said a word here.
Women give a shit.
You are more likely to lie because women care about stuff like that. Men don't, so we don't have to lie.
So,
yeah, am I right? I'm right.
So the con to being open, I go back to my original statement is you can't tell the truth to women because they care about stuff like this.
They do, correct.
Exactly. So we're both on the same page.
We are on the same page.
Bro, we get fiery over nothing.
We are fiery. We're just the type of, Leo and Sagittarius.
Yeah, just hot. Heated all the time. All right, so that's my last con, and we made it through this list, and we definitely stretched this episode. I think
the longest episode, I think.
Yeah, we needed to get through this because, one, I don't think people will talk about it in length like this all the time and really go into how it feels in the relationship, like how two normal people, we are just normal people, feel in an open relationship. Like we're not these crazies that like, oh, well they got piercings on their penises and I don't know. We're not crazy people. We're just normal people, normal jobs, living in a normal house in a normal area. So
very, very suburban.
Very suburban area, professionals that live in suburbia. So the thing is, we wanted to get this message out there and have people have a reference of, you know what, I would do it. I think I have the confidence in myself and the propensity to trust someone else enough. Like I don't have trust issues. I'm not self-conscious. I enjoy seeing my partner with other people, or at least I can tolerate that. There's and not only that, you know, I enjoy flirting, or I enjoy something about the being with different people. So I think to wrap a bow on it is there's people who this definitely should work for who don't know it yet, and maybe listening to our video they can go through these pros and cons from the woman's perspective and from the man's perspective and find out, you know what, I do or don't want to do it.
Exactly, and I think hopefully we've encouraged a couple people to you may want to give it a try. Now that you know everything, we've laid everything on the table. You know the pros and the cons, and having the knowledge of these cons, I still would recommend an open relationship.
Look at that, folks. Nobody forced her to do it. She is still in this relationship with Tyrod by her own will.
Yep. This is what I want to do. Bring on the dicks.
Yeah, she already talking about getting back in the streets.
In the streets.
I'm going to have to get her a little anklet.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Get that. All right, guys. I really enjoyed this longer episode. We got to really talk, and I think if you guys recall, she said she had an attitude when she first started. Now she's laughing, giggling, smiling.
I no longer have an attitude.
Look at that. Look at that, folks. When we talk and communicate, and she's seeing me express how I feel, and she expressed how she feels, whenever you are all out there, you're comfortable, and you don't feel like there's this thing weighing on you or something on your heart. So it's always best to just be all out front about who you are, what you want, and what you don't want, your boundaries, and your goals. So that's a lesson and a half right there.
I think you said it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys joining us for episode 7 of Bondage and Clyde. Of course, you can follow us on social media. I guess I already told y'all this.
Yeah, we'll put that in there, but just really quickly, we're on Twitter at
Bondage Clyde.
At Bondage Clyde. We're on IG Bondage and Clyde 1. I'm sorry. So IG is Bondage and Clyde 1, and on if you want to reach out to us via email, we're still, we'll take questions and we'll answer them here on the podcast. We usually stay about 3 episodes ahead. So if you ask us when you first see episode 6, you might not get your response to episode 9. So
right, just be patient, but we definitely will answer every email that we get.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. This is Bondage Clyde.
And Kelsey and Tyrod. We out.
Peace.